the backs of children for their wagon load of coal. Come up from out the ground and show us what they've done, those men in their...
For the majority of people, these are the typical images of the mining industry. It was very much male-dominated and recognised as such. However, women also played a vital role, and it's important that their story is not forgotten.
Well, I was born in 1919, on 24th of August, and...
You were born in Lochgelly?
In Lochgelly, in the coalboard houses, where my mother and father was and family, and my brothers and sisters all worked in the mines. My sister's on the Pithead and my brother's down below.
Pittencrieff Street, Dunfermline, 1900. 21st 1900. That's where I was born.
And how many was in your family?
12.
Well, I was born in South Street, what is known in Lochgelly as the top of the town. 85 South Street on January the 23rd, 1919. So, well, when I was about 17, I went to the Pithead.
Well, I was born in Granger Street in Lochgelly on the 10th of September 1916, and then we moved from there to the heart of land. And there were 6 of us in the family then. I was married when I was 20. Previous to that, I was 6 years on the Jenny Grey Pithead. I started there in early January 1931. I was 14.
Oh, it was hard. It was a hard life. When we were wee, my sister and I were staying for twins, she's up there somewhere. And we had to go with bare feet to the school to let my sister get on. She was a teacher.
Well, I was born in Buckhaven in 1924, right near the shore actually. I was brought up there until I was, say, 3. Then we moved up to Denbeath, which is, right the street up from the Williams Colliery. And my father was in the pit, and my uncles were all in the pit, and my brother. So it really is a mining community altogether.
For these women, career choices were limited.
She went in for, you'd either go commercial or domestic. And she told my mother she was going in for domestic, for my mother says that's what we had to do. But she went in for commercial, and she got shorthand in typing.
When there were a lot of women there, it was just Pithead and service and that were the only jobs in the factories. Well, I didn't like factories, so that was the only work.
I worked in the West Williams Castle with Lord and Lady Williams. I got 2 bob more on the pants when I started the pants.
What sort of work did you do in Williams Castle?
Oh, clean for Lady Williams and him. But they wanted the work done, but they didn't want to pay for it,
But they still had their pride.
What I didn't like about it was that they used to do terrible things like putting money underneath the wee mats in the dressing tables and sweeties, and the lady used to come along and wipe her finger along the curtains behind you to see if you're doing it right, And in these days, it was ewers and basins and potties under the bed or in the little chest. And I hated it. I mean, we never had to do that in our own home. We always had a toilet.
Well, I would go back to the Pithead again because I'm a person that doesn't like anybody. If I went into service and somebody had come and started to see a wee drop of dust or anything, I like to be independent. And I knew when I was working in the Pithead, I knew what I was doing.
No, I didn't like her at all. And I used to say to Mother, I'm going to look for something else, because she's going behind you like this to see if you've done everything. But it was the putting the money underneath the little doilies and leaving the sweets and things that annoyed me.
Sneaky.
To test your honesty, you know.
Their job on the Pithead is not one many young girls would undertake today.
When I went first onto the Pithead, I was terrified. The machinery, the noise and the dust, and everything was shaking, vibrating with the machinery. And I had to go down the steps to where the tables were, and they showed where to stand, where to pick the coal.
And the dust, some days you couldn't see your neighbour across the table. Once there were maybe 3 on each side of a table. When I started there were about 5 on each side, but they gradually did away with the women, you know. So it was really, and sometimes you couldn't see your neighbour across with you for the dust, and they talk about dust.
2 girls or a man draws the hatches off. They go to get weighed to the check weighman. He weighs the coal, and if it's too heavy, well, it's put aside, and the girls pick to go what we said, craw the coal. That was take the stones out the bad hatch of coal the man had sent up. Then when he came up the pit, he was questioned about the bad coal he was putting up. Then after that hatch was put there and crowed, you brought the catches back, put them in the tumbler. What we called the tumbler was a great big shaker thing. You pulled the handle and the shaker went and shook the coal down to the tables.
I was at the front of the pit, lighting them up again, and it was pretty, you had to be pretty nimble like that. It was a dangerous job, because if the cage went past you, they were nothing but the shaft, and it was what you called an airlock. And in the winter time, this handle that well, we called it the chapping to the engineman. If you had your bare hand on it, it used to stick to with ice. So you had to wear gloves, you had to be all covered your head, and you wear both dungarees, you know. In the winter time, I've seen me all hacks, and I went to the Pithead baths to wash yourself. When the war hit you, you felt like green. It was murder. Anyway, it was hard work, SAIR work anyway. It really was men's work.
Accidents were never far away.
A lot of the families in Denbeath lost sons and husbands. I think it was terrible. There was a few families lost, you know, a lot of members of their family. My father had an accident, and I can remember seeing my mother screaming at the door. I'd be quite young, 10, 11, and he was brought home in the ambulance. Well, I mean, if they were off their work, you didn't get money, you know, and his leg was torn from there up. Big stitches. I can remember that.
Well, it was near the end of our shift, and when the pit went in, it was that sharp. See what I mean? It went right through my shoe and right through my toe. But I just carried on till I finished. And then I went home and I showed my mother, and she came my wee basement to wash. I said, I'm not going to get to my work tomorrow. I said, I God, you will. And she got home, I should back at my work.
You should have reported it.
It was my fault. I missed the coal and I struck my toe.